Hi everybody, this is Clay with Clay's Customs Creations. I now have a store in Bakersfield, California called The She Shed. We are located at 1518 19th Street. And if you are in town, stop by and see us. You can get your DIY paint there and your Paint Pixie brushes. I hope you enjoy this video. Hi everybody, I'm Clay with Clay's Customs Creations. Back there is Josie. She's always helping me paint. And I also have a Facebook group called The Peachy Pig, and you can find me on Instagram under the name The Peachy Pig. I am located in Bakersfield, California, here in town, and you can find those locations on the DIY Paint website. I will attach the affiliate link to the bottom of this. Today I'm going to talk about DIY Paint 101. DIY paint is a all-natural clay-based chalk paint, and it has extremely high, wonderful pigmentation. So when using this paint, you don't require a lot of it. And sometimes people overpaint with this paint, wasting their paint because they think they have to get full coverage before they step back and let it dry. There are 3 different sizes. We have a 32 ounce, we have a 16 ounce, and we have an 8 ounce. You will get twice as much coverage with this paint than any other paint as long as you utilize water. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay, first things first. This is a vintage piece, and it has these beautiful little inlays right here of wood, but the client needs this to be all black for a Christmas display. So over here on this side, it was missing one of the inlays. So I went ahead and put some filler on it, and I'm going to go ahead and sand this smooth before I start painting. Okay, now that I have this all smooth, I'm going to clean the piece. I like to use the Clorox disinfectant wipes. There are all kinds of different ways to clean your furniture. I'm just going to remove any dirt and debris that's on here. And if there's any spots that might have a little bit of oil on the top from just years of being cleaned. Now, if you're worried that a piece is going to be too dirty and you can't get it as clean as you want, you can always take shellac, which you can find that at any of your hardware stores, and put a thin coat of shellac all over it. And shellac will seal it so that there isn't any bleed through. You really want to do this with light colors if the piece is really old. I'm using dark colors, so even if there was a little piece on here, it's really not going to show. But we're going to get this all cleaned up. And we will get ready to paint. All right, this piece has a nice little drawer. I went ahead and took it out because I'm not going to be doing any blending. It's just basic painting. So I went ahead and took this drawer out so I can paint it a lot better. I removed the hardware so that we can maintain the natural antique look of the old piece of hardware. Okay, so I've taken DIY paint. The color is Little Black Dress, and I just put it in this little styrofoam plate. I keep all my paints in little containers other than the can because I open and close it so much it saves my paint. So I use paper plates or styrofoam plates, or I do have some regular reusable plates too. Okay, so our surface is clean. I'm going to load up my paintbrush. Normally I get my paintbrush wet beforehand, but I want to show you guys something. So when you're painting with DIY paint and you start to paint, there's a thing called pulling. See how it's really stretching and pulling that paint? It's not going on smooth, and I'm having to press. With DIY paint, you have to be soft-handed. You need to lightly brush your paint. So that's one dip, but it's pulling, and you get all these little brush strokes in there that you do not want unless you're doing a texturized painting, but for this purpose we're doing a smooth finish. So I get a spray bottle and I mist it with water, and now watch with just a light hand how much more coverage I start to get. Now when you're painting with the DIY paint, the pigmentation is so high. You can see over here where it's starting to pull again. I don't know if you can because I'm trying to avoid that sun in the camera. Over here it's starting to pull, And I'm wanting to naturally just press down more. And we don't need that. And a big mistake that people make is they keep reloading their brush, and pretty soon you have this big, thick blob of paint, and your brush strokes are really defined, which there is a way to fix that. If you do make the mistake, just mist it with water and get it wet enough and it'll start to self-settle. But the best part about DIY paint is that it is self-settling and it can be texturizing depending on which way you confront the paint. So in our case, we're going to want to use a lot of water. So it's just going to keep pulling, and see how fast it's already starting to dry. And we don't want it to dry yet, so we just keep adding water. And the more water we add, look at that, the more coverage we get. And if you see a little bit of the wood grain underneath, that's fine. This is the first coat, number one. Number two, when it dries, the pigmentation will kind of take over that wood grain anyways, and most likely won't be able to see hardly any of these. So with just two paint dips, we have covered this much of the top piece. Now whenever I'm doing a piece that's going to get a lot of use, I will do 2 to 3 layers. If it's just the legs and stuff like that, I'll just do 1 or 2 layers. Just depends on how much coverage I got. So this is what we have here, and I'll go ahead and continue to paint. Okay, so I've got my first coat covered on the top of this, and it's drying. So while it's drying, we're gonna address a couple things. One, when I pulled this drawer out, it had a crack in it. Doesn't mean the piece of furniture is messed up. It could be perfectly fine like this. What I'm going to actually do is I'm going to put some wood glue in here, and I'll probably clamp it down and let it dry, and then it'll be perfectly fine. Okay, so for this piece, everything is going to be so easy and so quick. This is a great project from start to finish. You can do it in under 2 hours. But there's look at how fast that was. I just literally just done. So put this aside here, let that dry. And I'm going to switch brushes. Right now, I have the Paint Pixie synthetic brush. This brush right here, you can buy it through my affiliate link. I will attach that below. Most of the Paint Pixie brushes are half synthetic, half natural. Some people prefer synthetic, so I got this when I went to DIY boot camp. And that's because Paint Pixie and DIY Paints, Debbie's Design Diary, have teamed up, and the synthetic brush, you can buy that from Debbie's Design Diary on the DIY page, also through my affiliate link, and they will have the DIY Paint logo on their little truck and stuff. It's going to be, they're so cute. This one had a sample on it, but it was a sticker because and it's already come off because I've used it a few times. But I'm going to get rid of this one because I'm going to be working with these small little legs, and I'm going to get the Paint Pixie French tip. One of the best brushes. I have never liked painting chairs because it's so tedious. But with this brush, or its little sister, the little Frenchie, it makes painting these little tiny spindle legs so much easier. And now I don't hesitate if somebody wants to give me a chair to paint. I don't hesitate now because look at this. It just covers. You don't have to worry about it. It's not pressing too hard around the edges and lifting that paint up. It's just an amazing brush. And if you watch Dion Woods, the Turquoise Iris, this is one of her favorite brushes because she uses it for details. And that's the best thing about this thing is details. When you have little designs and you need to get into the little design, these are great because you can sit there and just tap away. So we're just going to keep painting this. If it starts to get dry, I don't necessarily want to mist it like this. I'll just get my brush wet with the water because I can feel it starting to pool again. And paint pooling is not our friend unless you're looking for major texture. Like if you were doing something that was a beachy, chippy finish, looked like it set out in the weather, then yes, you need a little bit of pooling to get that depth. But for a smooth base coat, you don't necessarily want that. Okay. Now our top coat is dry. So I've got some more little black dress in here, and I added some water. I want to water it down a little bit. Actually, let me add a little more, because the top coat doesn't need to be as thick. But remember how we could see those grains, the wood grains coming through in there earlier? Well, if you look now, most of those are filled in. You only have a few little wood grain brush strokes over on the side. So let's get to painting this. And depending on what type of look you're going for, you can do all different kinds of ways. When I'm doing a solid piece like this where I want it to be a little more smooth and flowing, I try to keep all my brush strokes the same. But what I end up doing is at the end, I just spray it with some water and I smooth out all my brush strokes. But this is the last part, other than touching up the legs. The legs really don't need another coat, but what I'll do is I'll take this in the house and I'll look at it closely once it's dried and maybe do a couple touch-up pieces. Just little lines that might be showing. And sometimes, whenever you're painting anything that has legs, check all four sides of each individual leg. I know that sounds silly, but believe me, more than not, you will miss one of the sides of that leg. Just, I don't know why everybody I know does it. You just get in a hurry and you're turning the piece and stuff, and then you end up missing something. Uh-oh, I got right here, because my stuff is starting to dry in my container, my foam bowl, so I'm getting little chunks of clay. Not a big deal, just pull them out. And if you miss one, if you are painting like this and you miss a little chunk of clay, don't worry, they sand out real easy and they smooth out just as smooth as the paint. Look at this big old chunk right here. And that's just because I left my bowl with my paint sitting out here instead of covering it. Whoops. Covering it, I usually put a wet paper towel or a wet baby wipe over it, and I spray the brush and I spray the paint and get it nice and wet and cover it up. I didn't do that this time. Okay, so there's what we have. And then I'm going to take my mister and I'm going to mist it really good. Not on the sides, you don't want to do this because it might start to pull and run unless you're wanting that look. But I'm going to mist it really good just to help that clay paint settle and smooth out. I'm going to come over here on my sides and brush this just a little bit. Let's see. And it's just because when I'm brushing, sometimes the buildup wants to pour over the side a little bit. And I'm just being careful not to mess up my brush strokes, only because I want it to be smooth. And that's that. Alright, thank you for watching, and please share, put this on your Facebook, and I will have my affiliate links down below. Just go ahead and check those if you need to order DIY paint online. Or if you want to find my locations, those are in the DIY location app. So check us out. And if you're ever interested in a class, follow me on Clay's Customs Creations on Facebook or the Peachy Pig. And that is where I post classes that I have. Thanks for watching.